All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm here with special guest Curran Delahanty. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing it correctly. Please jump in if I'm not.
I like the way that you said it more. It's technically Delahanty, but Delahante has more of a flair to it. So, whatever works.
I appreciate your kindness for my butchering of your last name, but for those who may not be aware, I guess Curran is definitely a friend of the stream, and he successfully piloted the new Chrome Mox list on, I would say, I guess you want to call it weekend one, right? To a top 4 finish in yesterday's challenge. So first of all, congratulations, Kern. I'm very happy for you. I guess I'll just actually here's before I even ask. Here are my socials, and then if you can post in the Twitch channel your socials, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun. Definitely weekend one, as I recall that the Chromox was tested on the day of the showcase challenge after the event. It was your Sunday Brew Day stream, as I recall.
That is accurate. Yeah, you know, I had stuff to do during the day, so I didn't play the showcase. And then I had heard from, I guess I'll just shout out to my boy Inigo. He had mentioned, I think the day before, that he didn't feel comfortable with the list in a merit lage metagame. So between Saturday and Sunday, I just kind of like thought about the list and how it could improve. And against some of these merit lage decks, one way that we're always behind is with their either exploration or specifically Mox Diamond starts, and I that's how I got the idea originally to try the Chrome Mox. Also, just the idea that we often have like natural order targets in our hand to pitch, and just like random redundant pieces we just don't need, right? That's the idea behind it. I think without going too much about into the background, Kurt, can you, I guess, elaborate on the before we review some matches on your tournament run with regards to how you felt about the deck and maybe like what you feel now going into or after the fact. Whatever you want to elaborate on, that's fine with me.
Yeah, sure. So, as for the current state of the list, I feel like it's well balanced in a way to handle most game ones scenarios. Just like have an even shot at everything. And the way that we have our slots like allocated right now opens up for maximum like sideboard value. It feels like everything maps very cleanly. There are obvious cards to cut in any given matchup, but are still like at least very low impact, maybe even no impact. But like most of the stuff outs are like the things that can be the deadest,
Mm-hmm.
But like at least everything else is a body and in contributing to Cradle. And Chromox really does a good job of like taking the dead cards and making just a little more use out of them. And then also, I find that when I'm starting to mulligan, decisions become a little bit easier when I'm looking at like a 5 or 6 card hand that has Chromox in it and being like, okay, this isn't going to be one of those games where we get ahead necessarily with the Chromox, like jumping the gun kind of deal because we want to conserve, like our cards at that point as much as possible. So it's a very interesting addition. I haven't felt strongly about it either way. I've been hopelessly optimistic that it would be very good,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like you're of the opinion that it is one of the more powerful adds to the deck, and I wish I was there with you, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around it a bit, I guess.
No, I appreciate the candor. I think maybe other people can maybe relate to you because you have a little bit more reps maybe than anybody who's seeing this list for the first time. But I know for sure I misplayed my first league with Chromox because there is that natural urge to just like run it out turn one, and I think like you quickly realized, I quickly realized that's not always the best play, and you sometimes you just have to hold it for a later turn when you need the speed boost. Now, I guess this would be a good question to ask you. Do you think this makes the deck harder, easier, or maybe it depends on where you at in where in picking up the latest list? Maybe you can answer that.
I think with the addition of Chromox, it's well, there's a learning curve, I guess, to understanding Chromox's full role in the list being like, something that you don't necessarily fire off on turn one. But like once a player gets past that like pretty quick lesson that like this isn't playing out like a stompy deck
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, I feel like the deck is fun to learn,
Mm-hmm.
and there are lines that are more intuitive than others, and it's a really fun deck to get like deep dive into, I guess. It's a deck that you can pick up on the face and probably do fine, or even do well,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, there's some intricacies that are a little difficult. Like sometimes, uh, like one of the ones that is funny to me that I had to teach a friend recently is that most of the time against Delver, when you're fiend artisting for three, endurance is more often a grab than the grist
Mm-hmm.
right off the bat than you'd think. Like
Mm-hmm.
because endurance does just such a savage job of holding down the line while you like get more development going. So
No,
uh,
that's totally a good point. And I'm glad you brought it up.
yeah. So but yeah, I mean, I'm open to any questions before we delve into the run as well from chat. I don't know if anybody's or who's out there yet, but uh, yeah, I mean, deck was a lot of fun. So
Nice. No, I think that succinctly answers the question. I think if I were to, I guess, paraphrase, it sounds like you think the addition of Chromox maybe makes the deck a little bit harder initially because it's not as straightforward as it maybe appears because it's not quite a stompy deck. But I think once you get past the learning curve, it sounds like what you're saying, then overall it actually makes things a little easier. Is that accurate?
yeah, that's pretty much how I see it. Like
Mm-hmm.
once you get past that, like uh it's easy to play the fiend artisan, hope that it
Mm-hmm.
lives or whatever, and then just start delving into the deck for the good cards, like the cards that you know are going to be high impact in the matchup. Um and then I guess the other thing too is that I would always recommend learning the basic heuristics behind Reclaimer,
Mm-hmm.
which is like if your hand is like kind of anemic or whatever, sometimes the best line is to just rely on the Reclaimer to get you on, like just go turn two, fetch, pass again, end of turn, get cradle, and then like you can get back into business from there. Like
Facts.
that's something that I always, would like. It never feels intuitive to just pass with 2 mana up on turn two,
Mm-hmm.
but with Reclaimer out, it's not as bad as you think. So
That makes sense. So you're talking about tying back to the old, I guess, Glimpse Reclaimer build where you're using turn two as a setup turn.
Yeah, yeah, kind of. But like sometimes that's still right with this deck if
Hmm.
again you don't have a lot of action going on, but
Hmm.
like you take a couple draw steps to maybe get some action, and then all of a sudden you can kind of explode out onto the board.
Right, because you set up your mana.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I think the only question I want to ask you, only because this stream is all about you, Curran. So I I I want to ask you just so the public, I guess, knows your take on two different things, and you don't have to spend too much time on it because I think if people really want to deep dive, they can just always ask one of us. But
Sure.
I think we kind of settled this on my previous stream, but like the Hierarch versus Halfling debate, and then some people wonder why only two Bowmasters. I think I guess whichever one you want to tackle or both.
I'll start with the Bowmasters one just because I did answer the question earlier online today when
Hmm.
somebody asked. So why not for Bowmaster? It's a great card. Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just raise the alarm with a ping. In certain matchups, see depths, lands, reanimator, oops, like
Some of the
different
harder
combo
matchups.
deck. A lot of matchups that like the card is more or less dead in. We have the option to pull it up via Fiend Artisan, and generally that's like a very good play
Mm-hmm.
in the matchups where Bowmasters is good, and we don't necessarily want to flood on Bowmasters in matchups where we don't necessarily want to see it. I do enjoy the fact that it puts two bodies on the table
Mm-hmm.
immediately. That's really helpful. It kind of like keeps mana neutral with Gaia's Cradle, but yeah, it's nicer to have access to things in the main deck, such as the two copies of Endurance and the two copies of Snuff Out,
Mm-hmm.
like for maximum flexibility to allow you more game one wins where you might not get them. And again, it keeps the sideboard flow really well, nice and open,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can bring in like haymakers for very specific matchups and not feel it like we're wasting sideboard space or anything. So,
No,
um,
you
yeah, that's
you
the
answered
Bowmaster.
that better than I probably could have. That was really good.
Sick. Awesome. I'm glad that I understand the theory, I guess.
Hmm.
And then Delighted Halfling versus Noble Hierarch. I think what ended up breaking the camel's back here, as it were, was the fact that the Exalted was just too good to look past.
Hmm.
While the Hierarchs are inherently weaker to Bowmasters, it's kind of accepted that, we take those trades. And honestly, when a Hierarch goes down to a Bowmaster, I feel a lot better about deploying a Fiend Artisan after the fact. Like,
Yes.
as long as Fiend Artisan is a 1/1, it is a prime target. And it's just like when that dies to Bowmasters, that's when you feel the worst.
Yeah, sometimes you just can't play around that, and it's just like really awkward, right?
Yeah, and so the hierarchs do a good job of drawing out the first bowmasters to get your fiend artisan in a place where it can live, while also still providing like built-in hate to swing past things like opposition agent or containment priest or whatever have you, in the realm of like creature hate for this deck specifically.
Yeah, and
So
the I found the Exalted to be highly relevant against lands specifically, where they just like rot turn one Tabernacle and just like pause and think you're just gonna scoop or something like that.
yeah, it's not quite the same as it was in the Glimpse Elves days. I do, yeah, oh man, it just reminds me of the time that Matt Brown bodied me in the finals of an NRG 2K online, where he just went. It was back in Glimpse Elves days. He just
Uh-huh.
went crop rot Tabernacle, and I was like, I'll try to beat this, but it's not looking good, and it definitely wasn't both games, and
I
it
don't think
was a
you played
real.
against lands yet, right? With this build or no?
I don't think I've played against lands with this specific build
I
yet.
think
No.
I was telling everyone actually that of all the matchups, I think Lands and I haven't played against Moon, but I suspect that's a lot better too. I think Lands is arguably that matchup is the biggest winner out of the Chrome Mox edition because not only do we have so many dead cards game one, it's mana that doesn't get taxed by their normal package, if that makes sense.
Right.
But without further ado, if there's nothing else, we can jump right into the matchups.
Yeah, let's do it. I think we're gonna jump around a little bit just because we're not sure exactly how much time we're playing with here. I'm gonna start with the 5 color control match just because it's a nice little 2 gamer. And I don't know, some people feel concerned about control, so
No, I think I will defer to you, Current. Like you obviously know what is a better, showcase, so to speak, matchup for the audience. So let's just run it through.
sick. All right, well, we're going into game one, and we just snap back an absolutely beautiful hand.
Yeah, pretty flexible hand.
Does a lot. Has mana to do the things. I thought this was funny. So my opponent goes scrubland and passes it back. So throw out the hierarch.
Hmm.
But the funny part about this is the next land drop to me. Uh, oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. Just tropical island, like straight out of hand, no fetches whatsoever.
Hmm.
Black, white, blue, green. Here we go. So Bowmasters has taken the hierarch as its food, and I think at this point I'm just bowmastering back to try to like lock down future cantrips here.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I don't hate it. I don't know if I would have made that play, but I think it's fine. Actually, I think it's perfectly fine because we're suspecting maybe a control deck based on what they've shown, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like
Okay.
at this point, I'm like, this is a 4 color like control
Monstrosity,
deck
right?
for sure. So I always take out the army token just because I'm trying to be mindful of Uro and also maybe reanimate because I know that a lot of like decks like to randomly play these like graveyard things that
No,
matter.
that's very heads up, to be honest. Like, I think it's something that a lot of people will have to get used to, myself included.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to go for the token first, but I think it's better overall.
Hmm.
Um, so at this point, I think I'm just looking to fire off a Green Sun for Grist here.
I mean, this is basically a force check, right?
Yeah, no force. And Reclaimer is now online as a 3/4. I didn't send anything in because I wanted to keep maximum mana available for next turn.
Not only
Um,
that, I think like anytime now we have to play if they potentially have black mana and to
yeah,
you pretty much have to assume they have it.
exactly. That's also another reason.
Hmm.
So they had double removal here at the end of my turn,
Hmm.
which was a little bit daunting, but no big deal. Tap mana beforehand to do nothing. Comes in. At that point, I didn't want to lose to like a bowmaster, like pumping that for free. That's why I blocked the normal one with the
Right, makes sense.
insect, and I just wanted to keep Grist at a stable 2 here. This is a post combat
Was the logic to keep the
green.
one army token for extra mana off the cradle?
Yeah, that was the idea. Was just to like make sure that I had mana going into the next turn.
Hmm. See what they do here. Seems like a grist, maybe.
Oh yeah, it ended up being Uro.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, so this is an interesting line. So they put in a Caracas and go for the bounce, and I'm just figuring if that's like if their hand is 2 cards and they want this back that bad, this is a perfect time to use the snuff out that I'm not going to get any value out of.
Yeah,
Um,
that seems. very shaky to me. I don't know if what like to me it seems like the play maybe it's not their deck would have been to get their own Gris.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, but I got to stop the Caracas from saving the Euro.
Yeah, I mean they must really value it, right? They did that. Like their hand must
Yeah,
be bad.
exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking at this point. Is like, yeah, it's not good looking. I play Fiend Artisan here. It resolves.
I'm
I
assuming you're a
crack a
green sun for
land.
endurance.
Uh, no, I guess I'm
Okay,
just green sunning for another artisan.
that's I actually don't mind that. You know why? Because they only have two cards in the graveyard. I think sometimes we get a little bit too scared of Uro when it's like not nowhere near. And here, pretty much, if they don't answer both artisan, they probably lose.
Yeah, the other thing is that you may not have seen yet is that they don't actually have the flashback mana quite yet. They only have the Tundra, Tropical, and Taiga to tap because the Caracas and the Scrubland don't produce.
That is a heads up observation. I didn't even realize. Yeah, the Scrubland doesn't even do anything. And the,
Now it doesn't matter, but like it did matter at the moment during evaluation.
right. So let's see what they have here. Ooh, Mince and Boo.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the way that I treated this was I think I just let this guy rumble through and just plan to drop some massive stuff next turn. Yeah, so we're just getting Atraxa here. Atraxa is going to refuel the hand.
Mm-hmm.
These are the cards that I saw.
Yeah, those are some bombs.
Yeah, I think the take order was Natural Order, Once Upon a Time, Cradle, Reclaimer, and that was it. Oh yeah, it shows. So, and then it's just like, all right, play new Cradle.
Yeah, and pitch deal a million, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like it. Would you agree with this assessment? I always tell people now, like, they're surprised I get Atraxa, right? And my response is, I don't think you realize she's actually the number one priority now, in my opinion, at
yeah,
least.
she's insane. Just
Yeah.
because, like, again, in this turn specifically, you got to see me go off with Hoof anyway. Like, I just like you start here, then you get all the cards you need, and then
Uh-huh.
you play another Cradle, and you have a million spells again.
The funny thing is, I didn't even think it was like needed, but ironically enough, her stock went even higher because she actually gets mocks now off the trigger,
Yeah,
which is really
no,
gross, actually.
it's juicy. It's juicy.
Speaking of
So
mocks, we can continue running this, but we can maybe you can answer as this is, you're walking through this, stepping through this.
yeah,
How have you liked the four Once Upon a Time? I think the mocks have allowed us to play it.
I think it's totally fine. Yeah,
Okay.
it seems sweet. Honestly, I'm a big fan of it.
I mean,
Uh,
free is
yeah,
broken, so.
yeah, we love free around here, and we love also being able to pitch extra copies to Chromebox now.
Right. It just feels like
Uh,
cheating.
yeah. So we kept a pretty nice hand here. I think Bowmasters comes down off Scrubland Taiga. No blue source yet. And I decided to double spell here just to keep board parity and
uh,
also like have Shepherd in play for Fiend Artisan, hopefully.
I would have made the same play only because Fiend Artisan doesn't do anything if you don't have any other creatures, right?
Right. Bowmasters unfortunately gets the best of the Shepherd and Reclaimer gets plowed, but that's okay because we're just gonna follow up with Fiend Artisan Fetchland anyway.
Right. Not to mention they're close to Hellbent already. Like I think this is what people don't factor in, like because they think Bowmaster is good against our deck, and it's really only good on the play, to be honest. But even then, like because it cost them a card, they eventually run out of gas.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Here comes the ley line binding. Sure.
I guess the question here is, I'm assuming, do you end step fetch arbor? Yep.
Yeah, it gets plowed, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to have to move on. I probably could have once upon a time for a land there looking back. Not
So
sure
I'm
why I
glad you
didn't
brought
do
that up
it.
because that's the first thing I would have said right now. I think if it were me, I would have once for land into our high arc.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why I didn't do that. That was weird. Okay, well,
At least
moving
you caught
on.
it after the fact, so I think that's good still. Let's see what's going on. Okay,
Yeah,
minus
Chris.
sure.
Okay, so I think my play here was take Reclaimer and go Chromox under, put a natural order, play Reclaimer.
Yeah, I
I
think
want
that's
to
what I
say.
probably would do too.
Yeah.
I think the not playing the once set you back a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like it may have.
The good thing is our opponent is hellbent here,
Yeah, at
and
this point, I'm just holding up to activate. They don't do anything except plus. So we get Cradle. So if I have my math correct, that's 3, 6,
it's
9,
got to
10,
be a
11,
Traxa, right?
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, I think it's a Traxa here.
Yeah, she is broken. Small nitpick. I think I would have tapped differently so you can turn on C's, which ended up being relevant here.
Oh, yeah.
But I
That
mean,
is
it's
kind of
still quite
awkward.
the hand, right?
Yeah. I guess I was like still like debating between Hoof when I cast the natural order at the time.
Yeah, it makes
Probably
sense.
did that a little too hastily.
I think you probably just tunnel vision, which is natural.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, so we take Chromox, Cradle, Green Sun, Fiend Artisan, Once Upon a Time. Uh, play Chromox. And I actually fucked this up too. Honestly, hold on. I'll show you what happened here. What I should have done, looking back at this right now, is Cradle into Green Sun for Grist
Mm-hmm.
and just blow up their Grist so I can protect my Atraxa.
Makes yeah.
But instead, I was like, nah, I'm just gonna go get Hoof. So that's why I held this stuff.
Greedy.
I know, I know.
It's okay. I know you play on vibes a lot, so
Oh
you
yeah, that
still never
happens
didn't have it,
too.
right? Never didn't have it. Okay, that was good sequencing there. I like the getting the one drop there first.
Yeah, I wish it would have been Shepard, but it was in the yard. So I was like, all right, just take a chance, and it resolved. So we won.
I mean, a reclaimer's not too shabby, regardless, even if they counter the.
Yeah, the critter hoof. Anyway, so that was the match versus Control. I definitely, obviously, played a little sloppy there, but still got there because Atraxa is just that backbreaking.
No, for sure. I think this is a good illustration of why I think uh, you do well against control. I think unlike other some of the less experienced pilots, I think what you do well against control is you have a good macro sense of what the win looks like. And even if you have a few hiccups in terms of like maybe tunnel vision or whatever you want to call it, sloppiness, I think in general against control, if your macro is good, you're probably in good shape. And I think that's why your record, I think, speaks for itself against control, whereas some of the other pilots I've seen may struggle a little bit because they don't know what the end game typically looks like against them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. It's weird, but you do have to just push for damage as much as possible, and just like trust in Atraxa. Atraxa will take
Correct.
care of you,
Trust in
even if it gets plowed or whatever. Like it still did its thing.
yeah, it's still double dig through time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like absolutely nuts. So that was the matchup versus Control. I'm gonna take it to a place now where we go up versus a matchup versus Rhinos.
Mhm.
Rhinos is one of those weird decks where it can easily close out a game through putting the trample guys on table, and their deck is built kind of strangely around it. There's no like very specific hate besides Chalice of the Void,
Mhm.
really. So it is kind of just an interesting matchup, and I was a little nervous going into it because last time I played it in the kitchen, I lost 2-0 very swiftly. So, but
I,
things
I
went
I would love to
better.
see how it plays out here because I do think this matchup is harder than people realize because we just don't have any good hate.
And I'm actually gonna bring up when we get there. I'm gonna talk to you about your sideboard guide for this matchup because I think there's something glaringly wrong, and I'm gonna show you what it is when we get there.
Okay, I think I
Um,
know what you're gonna say, and I think I've already changed in my latest version, but we'll see if we're thinking about the same
okay.
thing.
Anyway, so this hand is interesting, right? This is like where you're supposed to believe in the Mox, maybe. I don't know.
I think this is one of the small times where you're supposed to put it back because Mox isn't a land.
All right, to be truthful with you, I don't remember what I did here. I did keep it because I
Woo!
was still in the early testing stages of Mox, and I wanted to really give it a shake here.
You wanted to see just how much we can believe in the cards, right?
Yeah.
I would probably have mulled, for what it's worth.
All right. Well, so we're gonna go ahead and cast Ignoble Hierarch. We've pitched Endurance at this point because we know what we're up against as they've suspended a Footfalls. Um,
And yeah, this is one. This hand actually illustrates one of the scenarios where we do mulligan a little bit more because if it's the only land, so to speak, right, I probably would not keep. Whereas with if that was on the draw and that's my land, I probably would. If that makes sense.
right. Okay. So it's okay because we drew fetch land. So we're gonna do a little deploying. We're gonna just put a bunch of 1 drops out, and we're gonna go get a little Dryad Arbor. It's gonna be fine.
Oof, this hand is dicey against fire ice, but hopefully they just don't have it. Well, I know how this turns out, so. Ooh, there's the fire ice that I was talking about.
But the cool thing is, Newton, that we still have 4 mana.
And
And you know
they've
what
already
that
tapped out.
means?
Yeah, she is pretty nasty. Speaking of which,
uh,
that is, I believe, the sideboard difference.
yes, the guide when I looked it up was like take out 1 Atraxa immediately after I won the game with Atraxa here, and I was like, no, I don't
So,
think
so
I
there's a little
will.
bit of a mind game that goes on, by the way, with Atraxa because it really depends if you think your opponent's gonna put in inevitable betrayal, right?
Oh yeah, that's a bit of a mind game, I guess.
But it really depends on if where you think your opponent's gonna do. I'm
Yeah.
of the heuristic, and I don't obviously advertise this too much because I don't want people to be able to know what I'm gonna do. I like to board her out game two, and then if I see they don't have it, I board her back in game three.
Oh, that's kind of cute.
Obviously, if they know I'm doing that, then I gotta change my pattern, right?
Right. Well, I got their game one with it. Game two is a lot more intense. We keep this hand because it has nice acceleration, and
Mhm.
hopefully, this Once Upon a Time will find something cool. The second cradle was not really needed, but thanks.
I mean, it
Uh,
only hurts. Well, it probably
yeah.
hurts a little bit.
So we take Reclaimer here
Mhm.
because it's the action piece, and then just deploy a little guy. And the Lorian revealed in response for funsies, I guess.
Speaking of the action piece, have you felt like we want to have Saga on the list or not, based on your matches yesterday?
I really don't want Saga back in this list at this point.
Okay,
I think it's clunky, and nah, I think I'm over it.
that's fair. Yeah, I just wanted a second opinion only because it's. I mean, we do have the Chrome Moxes in the main now, so the target is there. Not that that was the reason I wasn't playing it before, but it's like I guess more incentive. But my personal opinion is keep the deck as lean as possible, right?
Yeah, and also the mana base is just in a good spot right now. So I don't want to mess with that too much.
For
But
sure, for sure.
oh yeah, so I decided to go Reclaimer Misty instead of just spewing out my hierarchs
Mm-hmm.
because I had a vision in my brain of a Fury coming down and ruining my whole game state.
Mm-hmm.
So I just played a little bit more conservatively here.
No, I actually think
Uh,
that's really heads up against known Fury decks because the Reclaimer by himself should be drawing out the Fury if they have it. It takes either insane discipline, whatever you want to call it, or just not respecting enough if they don't Fury here if they have it.
Yeah, but luckily they didn't have the Fury. The only problem is I'm at 9 and they just put more rhinos on the table. So
Right.
it's getting pretty hot in here. I can't I did the math several different ways
I think you have
during
to go
this
for a
next
Traxa,
turn.
right?
Yeah, so when
Oh,
I
that's
did my
nice.
math here, I was thinking that I couldn't do hoof no matter how I sequenced like any of it. Like
Right.
there were several different paths in my head that I was going off of, but I think my brain didn't fully connect. Unfortunately, I should have just
Seized first, right?
seized before, but we're just gonna go ahead and live the hero arc of not getting punished.
Oh my god, no respect for your opponent.
Yeah, just absolutely none to display here today.
You know what would be insane too? Oh, I guess you. You know what would have been insane if you don't take the C's here and then you show them the C's post a track set that you had it. You don't respect them. That would have been.
So, Artisan Cradle, Natural Order, Once Upon a Time,
Oh my god, that's
and
exactly what's.
then
Oh, okay, never mind.
yeah, I used the last screen to just deploy this, and my plan is I'm gonna live this turn.
I think that was really risky, by the way. I would have seized in case they have borrower.
Yeah, I probably should have looking back, but again, we're just gonna live the hero's arc of only having to deal with the shit on the table at this moment.
Sometimes when you run hot, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so we leave enough on the table to make sure that we have them dead to lethal next turn, dead to rights. And I'm doing that first, I guess. Oh yeah, because I still have a cradle to drop, so I just felt like getting a little bit more equity on the table first, and then
You know
going
what? You know
for
what
it.
this was, Curran? They have a phrase for this in basketball. This is a heat check.
Yeah, is that what this is?
I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase. They use it a lot in basketball, where like the guy takes an ill-advised shot because he's just running hot, right? So there, you're just doing the same thing, right? I'm just not gonna seize because I'm just running hot.
Yeah, at this point, might as well keep the extra attacker. Let's go.
Oh, I love it. I mean, if nothing else, it makes for a good stream, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so that was the really fun one versus Cascade. That's
Speaking, okay, so we're on the topic right now. Let's do the fun oops one right now.
all right. I'm just gonna go to game three.
Okay.
Because yeah, so game one they won through. I actually had the main deck endurance,
Woo!
but they had the pact,
Gotcha.
and it was just like well shucks. And then game two was a very nice, like very easy lock. I started with a Thoughtseize into like a reclaimer
Hmm.
with endurance backup, and it was just so nice. Anyway,
Did you
let's look
know
at
your
these
opponent was
hands
on oops,
together.
or it just happened that you had endurance in hand?
It just happened that I
Gotcha,
had
gotcha.
endurance in hand. So looking at this hand with them on the play, I was discouraged because I really don't think I can give them the chance to go off on turn one.
Yeah, I would
Oops does it
agree.
so
If it
much
was
more
reanimator,
consistently.
I'd probably keep, but not against oops.
Yeah, not against Oops. So we go down to six, and at this point, I'm thinking, this could be like an endurance or something, and I could just like try to fade one turn.
Hmm.
But my gut checked me, and I decided not to.
I wouldn't either. I think I would rather take my chance instead of a guess on once.
Yeah, five is looking bad. Four. So this is an interesting moment, right? Because like I could theoretically like put back Cradle Hierarch. Oh, I guess yeah, it
You
doesn't
can't even
really
do
work out.
Needle and Thoughtseize on one,
Yeah.
and Needle probably names Informer, but like I wouldn't blame you.
So here's the question: do you go to three, looking for turn zero, or do you just pray?
They kept six, and we're on the draw.
Yeah.
I think if it were me, man, this one's tough. I think if it were me, I probably would have kept and lost.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't have lost necessarily because the way that this game shakes down is interesting. Also, hey, douches,
Hey, dudes, thank you for the sub.
dudes, douches. Anyway, fucking. So I decide at this point, hell, let's go to three.
Hmm.
And there it is. The probably most beautiful three that you could ever hope for in
It
this
is.
matchup. Just put back the cards that aren't Reclaimer, Land, and Fairy Macabre. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah, yeah, for
So,
sure.
uh, if I had kept that four, I would have been able to needle this Informer because they play Informer and pass. So,
Okay, so I might have been able to get there, but it's hard to say. I would have
I
kept,
think you
yeah.
probably would have. But
It's 50-50, yeah.
anyway, so Reclaimer it up.
I think if it were me, like I said, I think what likely happens to somebody like me in that situation, I keep that for Needle, Seas, Land, and I forget what the last card was. Not Mox, obviously. And then I feel like most of the time I lose, but I don't know if I would go to three. It feels very hard to win if you go to three.
Yeah, I guess so. Um, but so we play this Reclaimer and pass and just pray. And just
Exactly.
pray that it's all going to work out. So this was a very interesting look, and I'm gonna ask you your opinion on this before I tell you what I ended up doing. But
Okay.
so with the Narcomoebas on the stack,
Uh huh.
what do you notice is missing right off the bat?
The Thassa's Oracle.
Yeah, Thassa's Oracle is one of the three cards definitely stranded in their hand at this point.
Okay,
The other
reanimates it there, and where's the therapy? Okay.
so there are two therapies. Um, and there's a Dread Return.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the card. Where's the Dread Return? There it is. Okay.
Uh huh.
And these are the cards that are in the consideration pile. Do you Fairy Macabre out the Cabal therapies and just let them die because their narcomoebas can't extract the thing out of their hand? Or do you take the Dread Return and one if you're taking the Dread Return, it doesn't really matter what you're taking after that, I guess. Like,
Where's the memories journey, by the way? Okay, it's in
it's right
the.
here.
Um, I'm trying to think. They could put Lotus Petal back in,
Let's
and then just
see.
pass, I guess. They didn't, because they didn't pack right to activate.
Um
I think.
no, they didn't pack to activate. Hold on. I think
So you take the
actually.
therapy. They, for what it's worth, they could still journey you. I don't know their hand. Okay, let me see. They have one, two petals there, three petals. The fourth petal's in the yard. No, where's the fourth petal?
Yeah, where's the fourth pedal?
I mean,
That's the real question, right?
I guess that's in their hand.
You know what the other card is?
Let me. Maybe no, it's not. Well, maybe a leyline sanctity. I only count through. No, there's four. Uh, so they have. Let me see. One, two, three. Okay, one, two, three. A spy? No, there's four
Nah.
spies there. One, two, three. There's another informer. Is that what that is?
It shouldn't be Informer either.
No.
Two.
See, I only count. Oh, there's one informer in the yard already, so that's not it.
So I'll give you the answer.
Sure.
The fourth Thoughtseize is missing. So the contents of their hand are Lotus Petal, Thoughtseize, and Thassa's Oracle, which means that if I had jumped the gun a little
Mm-hmm.
too hard on one of my considerations to take both therapies, I would have just immediately bitten it. Uh, and with the and then also with the thing that you told me, or like the thing that you went over in your
Uh-huh.
thinking, it's like, oh yeah, they didn't pack. So if I don't take the memories journey, then they can survive theoretically.
Right. So
So
did you
I think
hit?
the takes here are Dread Return and Memories Journey.
Agreed.
After
And
piecing that out a little bit,
that probably took a
uh,
while, huh?
yeah, it did take a while. I was thinking, and then we had a little banter in chat. They had packed, so if I had endurance as like my answer, it wouldn't have worked.
Wait, they had pack. So their last three cards were pack.
Oh wait, oh yeah, never mind. I guess it doesn't work. I guess my explanation doesn't work. I guess
No, I think their real
Thoughtseize was boarded out.
I think their big mistake was not playing the pedal right. Like they didn't they couldn't memories journey because they had messed up the sequencing.
Yeah,
But I mean, I think that shows right. Like sequencing is very important. Is the name of the game, I guess.
yeah. Well, I'm glad that yeah, I took the right
I'm
cards
glad the one
anyway.
Fairy Macabre actually came up huge for you because I know I personally been liking the 1-1 split a lot between Fairy and Vale, mostly because like they're like come in for a lot of the same matchups, but then they are different enough where like it's hard for opponents to actually play around one of each.
Hmm. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I've been liking the split a lot for sure. All right, let's do a matchup that is always out there these days.
Actually,
Death
before we
Shadow.
start, can we take a quick like 2 minute break? I'm gonna use the restroom and then get some water.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
I will take chat if chat wants to hang out with Curran and ask Curran questions. Testacular is at the microphone. Uh, to answer your question, Decent, I poured some Jaeger and some tea, so that's where I'm at. It's a bit destructive, but it's working. Also, yeah, I guess they should have played the pedal first. Uh, to hold up memories journey. Hmm, probably would have been better. I don't know that it would necessarily be a loss though. Right afterwards, thinking about it though, because Reclaimer's still on the table. If I top deck a land, then I'm live for bogging after the fact. So if they try to go back on the combo plan, the bog shuts them off from there. Um, I might even have like 2 draw steps to do so because they have to get back through the deck at that point. No, I would only have the 1 draw step to do so because they would probably put Dread Return back on top of the pile, and then double therapy themselves out. So yeah, it would be a 1-outer, basically at that point. Or yeah, hard cast the Oracle that way. I guess there are a few different routes to it, but yeah, it was a really weird game, I guess, in hindsight.
All right, I'm back.
All right, welcome back. We're gonna start up the shadow match
Nice.
real quick. So we peel back a hand that's pretty serviceable.
Yep. I mean, it seems reasonable enough.
Just starting with Forest because not really sure what to expect. The basic swamp here was super weird and kind of off-putting in this game one.
Hmm.
Like I couldn't quite identify it with Shadow until game 2, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would have put them on Shadow based on two basics.
Yeah, the Ponder Days though definitely lends more to Shadow in general. I think they end up wasting me here. So I just kind of have to accept. Oh, that got Force of Willed, which was kind of nice, all things considered. There are cards that I'd rather not have forced here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Also, being the nitpicker and Debbie Downer that I am, what am I gonna get you on for that?
play the Reclaimer, then the Arbor.
Correct.
All right, I'm sorry.
You know, I've been trying to get on you for that. A lot of times it doesn't matter, but it can.
Reanimating my Bowmasters to take out the Arbor was pretty sick on their part.
Because you know what I say, Curran, you're leaking information.
What do you mean? Get that wasted for funsies. Draw another dead
Jeez, these
card.
draws have been hideous.
Sure. You have it all. Scoop it up.
That's why we don't want natural order against tempo decks.
Yeah. Well, The boarding guide says to keep in natural orders and Atraxa.
Yeah, but
Uh,
that's only because what's it call it? We don't. This is a dead snuff out matchup, right?
yeah, that's true.
Typically,
Uh,
it's not ideal, but I think I keep it in because it's good enough. If I would respected them more, I probably would have more cards so that we don't have to do that. But I'm not particularly scared of them. If that makes sense.
yeah, I mean, Shadow has been completely fine for me, so I don't blame you.
Yeah, I think you went
Uh,
2-0 against it, and then I think your previous challenge you beat it as well.
yeah, I mean, yeah, Shadow is one of those matchups where I'm comfortable right at home because I interface with one of the better Shadow players out there. I think.
Oh, for sure. You're talking about Parker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure.
Regularly.
I think definitely when you have the reps against like you want to call it like an elite pilot of a certain archetype, definitely puts you ahead of the game, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. So I ended up keeping this hand after some deliberation just because I liked the amount of lands. I also liked having the pitch endurance, like easy pitch cast endurance to a reanimate troll line as well.
It's got a
Um,
lot of things going for it. I would have kept two, even though on the surface it looks kind of shaky.
yeah, exactly. Like intuitively, it looks kind of weird, but
But the endurance does double duty, so you don't get scammed.
yeah, exactly. It's just good practice. Oh yeah, so I drew the artisan here. So I think uh, I didn't want. No, I don't think that's the direction I went.
I
Kind
think
of
if it were
curious.
me, let's see if you do this move. I think if it were me, I would probably play Cradle and pass, and then endurance on their turn, and waste their mana.
Looks like I cradled, but I went down the artisan route instead.
Mm.
Uh oh yeah, I was thinking like playing it as a 1-1 here was totally fine because I could just sneak my way into a 2-2 if they came after it. But you know what's interesting about that as memory is coming back as this all happens? Bowmasters ended up targeting Ignoble Hierarch here instead of Fiend Artisan,
Oh, they
which I
played
thought,
scared. I think they
yeah,
snuffed out that or sniffed out that pun not intended that you had endurance in hand. That's so funny.
yeah, it was kind of weird. But I end up putting some guys into play
Oh,
and
can you pause
then
for a second?
getting. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Uh, this is one of the examples where it's correct to play the Arbor first. By the way, because you get the Cradle
Uh,
mana to pay for days. So I don't know if that was intentional or not. I'm just gonna give you the credit of the doubt, benefit of the doubt, Curran. But this is correct this time. No,
okay. Yeah. All right. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
no, it's. I don't know if it was because of you autopilot, but it was the correct play this one.
So anyway, we ended up pitching this Dryad Arbor to get our own Bowmaster.
I like it.
Take out the token because again, we don't need them reanimating their Bowmaster.
Right.
And now we're just kind of like we have bombs in hand for days.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just kind of in a position where nothing matters.
Yeah, they
So
probably see our hand. They're like, "What the hell, man?"
yeah, exactly. And then like Watergrave finally gives me a little bit more about my opponent actually being on Shadow instead of like trying to figure out what they're on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we go get the good guy, Grist.
I like it. They have a telegraph bowmasters too. Yeah. Right, like two open men. You just gotta assume they have it.
Yeah. So they clear the bowmasters so they can brainstorm. Thought sees me again, take an endurance, sure why not. Everybody comes hella swinging. We do some blocks,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they go for a reanimate on my bowmasters, which I don't think I don't love it, but I mean, Grist is here already to like kind of get the things back started again. So I ended up pitch casting my own endurance, stacking it so that the trigger would go off first, and save my bowmasters from being reanimated.
Mm.
And then endurance goes to the yard after the fact, so that we do have a little bit more toughness on Fiend Artisan.
I like it. That is something that I get a little bit careless about, and it hasn't hurt me, but I definitely need to stack it instead of just like autopiloting. It's
Mm-hmm.
heads up for sure.
Sometimes it matters.
It definitely matters. Yeah.
Yeah, so we get our cradle wasted, but that's kind of like whatever. Let's rebuild this guy's power and toughness for free. Sure, why not? Um, and then we plus one here. Digichromox, which isn't the greatest. And at this point, since they're below 13, I don't mind swinging and putting in the chip damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're pretty ahead here, I think.
They Plague Engineer, and they debated on this Plague Engineer for a really long time. And I was just sitting here like totally chilling because no matter what they name, even if it's insect, it does
It
not
should be
really
insect,
affect
right?
my game plan.
Mm-hmm.
And it did end up being insect. So I plus just to mill. I don't know if that is good or not. I guess I just wanted like Grist to be more threatening at a certain point anyway on its own.
I mean,
Um,
I don't hate it. I think the line here for us because they're hellbent. I feel like we just want to get cradle right.
yep, I had the same thought, so I just like held the zenith back and waited.
They want to attack. They can't. Okay. If I were them, I probably would. Well, I guess maybe they're scared of life totals.
Yeah, I think they're nervous for sure. We end up pulling a cradle anyway. And then we grabbed a bowmasters to get rid of their bowmasters,
Mm-hmm.
plus one to keep the gravy train rolling,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're getting ready to kill soon. Yeah.
and they scoop. So that was game two.
We joke about it like at the time of when we switched to Fiend Artisan, but pretty much Fiend Artisan plus Gris is the new BFF, right?
Yeah, it's demonic tutor for my deck.
So
Like
it is who needs Wirewood plus Sibio to draw cards? We could just literally demonic tutor every turn.
exactly. So we peel back this pretty sick opener.
Yeah, it looks really good in my opinion.
They mold a five,
That
which is
helps.
just super helpful. Thank you for being so considerate, opponent. Um, and I started by fetching here.
Ooh, Cardinal
Just
Sin, Curran.
nah, we got the cradle. It's fine. What are
I
you
was just
worried
gonna say,
about?
I was just gonna say I don't know if I would fetch first when we want our second land drop.
What are you imprinting here?
I think if it were me, they're down to 4. I still think we probably win any kind of fair game. I think I just imprint the natural order. But that's me. I play it safe.
I'm crazy.
That was actually, believe it or not, my second choice. Believe it or not, that was my second choice.
Oh yeah, they dazed here. I thought that was the funniest thing. I was like, yeah, you got it. No problem, pal.
We've had 3 permanents on board. They have 0.
They did not have the reanimate, so that was lucky. So I played Fiend Artisan here and just held up Reclaimer
I like it.
uh, activation to be safe.
Yeah, this beats Troll Bin into Reanimate or something like that.
So because they're representing Bowmasters,
Yeah,
I'm
do not
not
get Arbor.
actually grabbing Arbor here. I'm just grabbing a Bayou for the sake of thinning.
The guess what I'm gonna say right now.
What?
You should have got a fetch.
Oh, yeah. To turn on the Reclaimer, that would have been smarter.
It's okay. It's
Damn.
that's why sometimes it's like I said, right? It's a heat check. Wait, did I just miss something? Did you board out assassin?
Uh, no?
Oh, okay, never mind. I'm tripping out. For some reason, I thought you cast natural order there. No, that's fine. You're good. You're good. You're good.
Oh, yeah. I tapped Fiend
Yeah,
Artisan.
you did
I
so because
thought the
I
same
just.
thing. I thought the same thing for a second.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm tripping out. I'm tripping out. I'm tripping out.
No, yeah. I just wanted to like moreover secure the board state
No, no,
at this point.
it's 100% the correct play. For some reason, because you did it kind of quickly, I thought you cast natural order. I'm tripping out. I'm tripping out.
Wasteland gets the cradle, no biggie. Bowmasters gets the insect, also not really a big deal.
I mean, I feel at this point we won already, right?
Yeah, I feel like we're far ahead at the very least. I ended up imprinting this as natural order after all, and just turned my insect into another reclaimer.
Hmm. I think if it
Just
were
present big
me,
guys.
I think if it were me, I'd probably just hold the reclaimer for cradle. But the other line's not bad either to protect the grist.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought process. Like the cradle will just come later, or we'll just also draw that too. Why not? And why not? Let's play it right now. Sure. Oh wait.
No,
I
this
went
line
and
is
got
nice. I
Bowmasters,
like this line.
and then we're holding endurance in case they have like.
Right, they had the scam or something. I mean, we have grist on 6, so it's already over.
They had a lot of petty thefts, so I'm glad I didn't go for the Atraxa necessarily. I guess.
To be fair, if you had your tracks, the game would be over.
They pondered, let me shoot their guy, and then they scoop.
Nice.
So yeah, that was the matchup versus Shadow. Just playing very like grindy and patiently, things like that.
No, I think
Will get you there.
you played that pretty well. I think the only thing I might have done differently was there was like a turn maybe I hold for Cradle, but it's also easy to just kind of go through the motions when you're ahead too. Like I don't think you're losing that game regardless.
Yeah.
Like they won a 5-2 and you're like miles ahead.
Let's see. Card control. Oh,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do we want to do? There are two more that I'd really like to review. One of the Death and Taxes matchups, and then one of the
Let's do the
Grixis
Death and
Delver.
Taxes matchup because let's end on a good note, right? Let's not end on the DNT loss.
Yeah. Let's go to the semifinals where we got repaired into DNT.
Mm-hmm.
Now knowing that we're up against DNT, feeling a little bit more. Because the first time I played against it, I swear I saw Plateau, Swamp, Orcish Bowmasters, Stoneforge Mystic, Thoughtseize, Plow, Batterskull, Cauldra, Jite. That's like all I saw. And so I was like, man, this kind of feels like Mardu Stoneblade. I don't know, like this is weird. And then like game 2 is when I saw like, oh, Rishadanport, Aether Vial. These are the normal cards.
Right.
So anyway, I digress.
This is a snap keep.
Yeah. So we definitely snap keep. Grabbing Bayou. What are you taking here?
This one's a little bit tough. I think if it were me, yeah, this one's kind of tough. I think it's definitely between the oof and I think I'd probably just take the Fiend Artisan.
Man, I wish I was wiser. I took the land drop because I didn't love like multiple fiend artisans in the matchup,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a little bit worried about getting like wastelanded on like turn one right out of the game. It kind of feels like
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the like extra backup for snuff out,
The
so
only
I
reason
played
why
it pretty scared.
I was hesitant to take the land there, which I considered, is because we had the Arbor too, so that's the fourth land. I'm a little bit concerned about flooding out.
Yeah, well, they start out Aether Vial.
Mm-hmm.
And we draw another land anyway, which you're right. I probably could have just avoided the flooding.
It's hard to say, like, because you have to like kind of play out in your head how the game's potentially going to play out, and it's hard to do that under pressure. Given that this is a top four match and you're tired too.
Yeah, true. Exhaustion had gotten to me by this point, but I'm feeling pretty good because Fiend Artisan's about to go find me my favorite Planeswalker.
Well, I feel good about this matchup at this point, though.
Yeah, this definitely is like ideal. Unfortunately, the Mother of Runes is going to stick without an issue. And this is where stuff gets real bad, I think.
Mm.
Because what ends up happening is this: the
Oh my
one
god.
thing that we dread the most in the world.
I cannot believe they have that main deck. But I
Yeah.
guess it's within reason, yeah. Oof.
So they took, after much deliberation, they ended up taking an endurance from me, which is funny because so much more game happens from here that I literally forgot about it for a while. But it does end up coming back to being relevant at some point. I'll show you what I mean. So Stoneforge finds a GTA. They waste off Cradle, which is like whatever. I'm not really doing broken things at this point because broken things include searching the library, and I
Mhm.
can't use Grist to kill opposition agent because there's an active Mother of Runes.
Oh my god, that's a disaster.
So I'm just kind of like relying on beatdown to get me there for the moment.
Maybe it's time we play that Cabal Pit again, right?
Oh my god, maybe.
I've done some really cool lines with Cabal Pit for what it's worth.
So I block that off. I get that killed. That gets killed. Blah blah blah. We're just at this point trying to force through as much damage as we possibly can. Put him to 5. Send it back. Vials at 5, so that's also bad.
This is pretty brutal.
Opposition agent. I'm just like trying to get like Grist is so close. Um, but also they have a counter on GTA anyway, and I can't do anything.
Oh.
And that's where the endurance comes in that I literally forgot about. And they flash it in, and I'm just like, it's so
Brutal.
over.
If anything, it should be. I don't know. If you see chat right now. It should be hashtag exclamation mark white, right?
Yeah, honestly, it's so sad. This card right here is so sad.
Why would
This
they ever make that card?
why
Why does it
why
need
they do
flash?
this?
I think the writing's on the wall from here, though.
Oh, it definitely is. I'm just clicking through it to like fast track.
Let's go
Anyway,
to the second game now. I don't think we're winning from here.
yeah. Game 2. Uh
I don't.
let's
I
see.
think I don't have a problem with. Well, it sucks how that played out, but I don't think you did anything wrong. Maybe like you keep the Fiend Artisan, but I don't think we're beating that agent regardless.
Yeah, Agent is just such a nightmare to deal with. I kept this hand. It was a little bit mid, to be completely honest. Like, I didn't love it so much, but it
You played the
had, like,
Grist here, right?
snuff out. I think I did, yes, because I saw the line to just to put it down on turn 2, essentially.
I think if it were me, not that I'm a little bit more risky with my fetching when I have Snuff out in hand. I think I would fetch Bayou turn one. For what it's
I
worth.
see. Well, the good news is we don't have to use the fetch right now. Or I guess maybe I should have in hindsight.
No, I
Anyway,
think given that you had the
Bowmasters.
Bayou, it was correct to play the Bayou into the Grist there.
Drew the other one. Incredible. They put a Mother of Runes. We grab it with Snuff Out because we don't need that negativity in our lives. By the way, I'd like at this point to point out a clock differential. This is
Highly
rough,
tilted.
guys. Like we're in the early phases of game two in the quarterfinals. I'm kind of wondering if I'm going to time my opponent out at this point. Anyway, so Stoneforge gets Jitse. They cast the Jitse, just kind of threatening it all very immediately. Fiend Artisan's a 4/4 though, and I end up destroying the Stoneforge Mystic only because I do not want them to untap and just like play Cauldra.
Yeah. They always have it.
Yeah, like even though they searched up Jite there, I'm still not taking that risk.
I would
Uh,
I would respect Cauldron too. I feel like they always have it, and that's their go-to because they don't want to be blown out by Snuff Out.
yeah, but the Bowmasters puts on the Jite, and we continue to draw lands, but that's okay because we've got our little demonic tutor engine going. My intention here going in was to grab Bowmasters to Bowmasters, but I told myself if they don't activate Violent Response, I'm getting Oofy. And they didn't, so I went for the Oofy punish.
Nice. I think that's very heads up. And probably the play I would have made too. Like you give yourself two options, right? It's kind of like the old green sun for more than you need to, right? Trick.
Yeah, exactly. Putting X as a different number or whatever than your actual intention is always good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they fetch. I don't know why, not for really any reason necessarily. And at this point, I'm grabbing.
Probably Bowmasters to kit theirs, right? And
Yep,
then develop board. Yeah.
just get it out of the way. Kraken for a nice protected 3.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they pass back with a bunch of mana up, and I Fiend Artisan for the kill.
Nice. Yeah, that was pretty textbook to be honest. I don't think I had any issues with any of the plays you made there. So I think that was
Yeah,
a clean sheet, so to speak, right?
exactly. And then game 3, the Heartbreaker, and a good opportunity to see if there was anything I could have done differently.
Sure.
So, uh,
That's an auto morph right there.
unfortunately, yeah, that hand suck. So we send it back. This hand is unfortunately not like ideal by any means, but it will have to do.
Yeah,
Uh,
I keep it, but I don't love it.
yeah, like at this point,
I don't think you want to go to five. Oof.
yeah, Cage has been just so much fun lately.
Oh, stop there.
Yep, sorry.
You know what's on the bottom of your deck, so you want to once before you fetch.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Oh well.
It's something that usually
Well,
doesn't matter,
actually,
but can.
I'm gonna counter argue you. I would rather have Crater Hoof as a live top deck against Cage.
That's like way down the road though.
It's not as far down the road as you'd think against Death and Taxes. It's not actually all that unreasonable to like cradle into cradle, and then all of a sudden you're there. in the mid game. I
No,
would argue.
what I'm saying is, I think you don't want to be one of your five accidentally because you're gonna fetch anyway. So like that thing solves itself is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, yeah, no. Okay, actually, that's a fair point. All right. Anyway, so we grabbed this one drop that we so conveniently found,
Correct.
uh, and send it back over. They throw Thoughtseize into our Bowmasters. Boo. Uh, we draw another natural order.
Oh my
Super
god.
great and helpful. Thank you, deck, for always being there for me and never not being there for me.
To be fair, we saw it was there for you multiple times this stream already.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, exactly. I shouldn't really be complaining. This ignoble goes in for some more blood, and they fetch and play or put Yorion into their hand without wasting me, which is like, all right, whatever.
They
And
sure
then,
did.
and then, a glimmer of hope appears
Oh.
as so. I looked at your guide and I decided to do a bring in a one of Force of Vigor over one Fiend Artisan. And uh, it was because when I had played this guy earlier, he started with a turn one cage in game two.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, I would really like at least one Force of Vigor in the 60 just in the off chance that I can draw it and get out. And so,
That is very clutch, and it shows. For what it's worth, I don't board in force. Curran knows this, and I like it when you can take the appropriate deviations from the sideboard map when appropriate.
yeah, but so normally in this case, I would have held up the mana here to just do hard cast, but I'm thinking if I need to sell them on them not wasting me next turn and maybe hard casting Yorion instead, I need to sell it by sending this hierarch forward so it looks like I only have 3 mana available. And then I can just pitch the second natural order to the blow up anyway, so
Sure.
that I can untap and just get a
Sure, the
Traxa.
natural order is dead anyways.
Well, it
Mostly
won't
dead.
be once Force of Vigor, right?
Right, right, right.
But I know that Atraxa would just get Caracas, but at least it would dig me deeper into the deck.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah,
the
I
plan
don't
we
have a
go
problem
on.
with you attacking there for what it's worth.
Yeah. And so they activate Vile here. I think I just let that go.
I mean, what could they possibly have? I guess
So
that.
Bowmasters, that's like unfortunate for the fact that we were trying to untap a natural order, but
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Uh at the end of this turn, it's still imperative that we force a vigor because we don't need them to get any more access to their vial.
Mm-hmm.
The cat's out of the bag, and we get wasted, but it's okay because we're drawing a fetch land here, and now we're back to fetch Arbor end of turn, and then any land is live.
Mm-hmm.
Or even a Chromox as well is live. So we send back, they attack for 2. We fetch out Dryad Arbor in prayers that things go well, but they don't. We get solituded out. And then, so we end up green sunning for the other Arbor at this point.
Yeah, we're still one top deck away.
And we get another Solitude just thrown in our faces.
Oof.
Play a Reclaimer out. Still trucking, still trying our hardest to get back in this. Batterskull comes down and creates.
Yorion hasn't been put in hand yet, right?
They did put Yorion in hand, I think.
Oh, they pitched it to
They
Solitude?
pitched it to Solitude, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We top deck a Fiend Artisan, which unfortunately isn't as large as you would think for how late in the game it is, due to the fact that D&T plays so much exile removal.
Mm-hmm.
We take 4 from the Batterskull here. Find Noble Hierarch, and turn it into a Bowmaster so I have extra bodies to try to go over top next turn.
Right, makes sense.
They play Mother of Runes. I find a fetch. Unfortunately, there wasn't another Arbor like I wanted. So
I
at this
think you
point,
needed to get a Bayou there.
oh, yeah, I probably should have. I'm not sure why I didn't. Anyway, oh, because yeah, I was thinking that like we were reaching outside the point of paying for life anymore.
Oh, sure, okay.
Uh, so I grabbed Noble Hierarch and then Natural Order it to turn it into a Traxa, hoping to pick up some extra action here. Um, Hit a pretty big Atraxa, Cradle Hoof, Chromox, Green Sun, Grist. And now at this point, we're just trying to find a way to live. This gets Caracas back. I Chromox put Atraxa into her new retirement home, and pass it back. Hoping to just find a way again to just go over top, but they find Jite, they equip, they bash, we take out their Solitude, they take out two of our creatures, and then it's just there's no real way to get out here. I don't think. Um,
It kind of feels like to me, um, we might have been able to do something a few turns ago, uh, with the snuff out. Like it was kind of dead all game, and that's one of the I think issues with fetching for basics. When you have snuff out in hand early. So I think that's something I'm not sure it would have mattered this game per se, but it's a consideration for the future case because we did have two snuff out stranded, which is pretty awkward given it should be one of the better cards in the matchup.
Yeah, I think the fact that Bowmasters is one of the prevalent creatures now, and then
Mm-hmm.
like germs are really the threats that we care about more.
Uh huh.
Snuff Out is actually not quite like Snuff Out is really the biggest blowout against like Stoneforge Mystic
Right.
when
That's
it's
the card you
down
want most against,
unprotected. Yeah, but
or potentially containment priest.
also that, yeah. I mean, other than that, though, Snuff Out isn't actually like it doesn't feel like the most high value card in the matchup at this
Definitely not as
point.
much as it was before.
Yeah, the way that they're building these days. So,
No, I feel you there.
um, yeah, it's a little tough. But anyway, I thought for a while on how I was going to do this, and I decided the only way that I was going to win this game is if my opponent made a mistake. So I loaded up the board again a little bit to kind of prepare for the hard cast hoof. Uh, I put this grist down, um,
And then you plus, right? Yeah.
and plussed it. And then the only thing that I can do now is snuff out targeting the Mother of Runes in the upkeep, uh, and hope that. Well, I
Well, you
am not
can't because you
snuffing
have
it.
two.
I'm so confused. What happened here?
I know what you did. You pretended like you had fatal push, so they won't pro black. Pro green.
What? This is so weird.
I think you tried to hardcast it and realized you couldn't, unless I'm mistaken.
That's not what happened, though. I remember that I played my other cradle and that I went to snuff out an upkeep. I don't know why the replay glitched out because I remember specifically going for it and then them targeting this, giving protection from green, and so I lost.
Uh huh.
Uh, That's
So
super
if
weird.
I were
Moto
to
is gaslighting me right now. Hold on. Anyway, go on though.
no, if I were to guess, I think we can skip this. I think the replay just glitched out. Is my guess.
Yeah, I guess we can skip it. But
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
you
pretty
can
confident the replay's bugged, and
yeah,
that
because
I
like
trust your word on this.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that was the loss, sadly. But we do have one win to go over before we wrap. I think.
Yes, let's go for one more win.
The quarterfinals versus JPA. Knowing that I know that he'd been playing Grixis Delver because Sneak and Show has not been kind in the current metagame. It seems.
Not against discard, which it traditionally has been weak against.
Yeah, and then like Bowmaster's kind of pressuring cantrips is not fun, I
Mm.
imagine. So this
Not to
hand
mention it
suck.
like stops Crystal Brand's dead in his tracks, right?
Yeah. All right, so this hand suck. So
Mm-hmm.
we go ahead and shit. And this is our 6.
Ooh. I feel like the six, a lot can go wrong. I would probably ship it back.
All right. Well, here's where I did a little bit of metagaming. I looked at this hand from the perspective of how good these cards are versus Delver.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer came back to me as very good. So I kept this hand and I put back the endurance because I figured that that wouldn't be as relevant as these other cards might be.
Okay, I think if it
And I
were me,
just
I probably would
let
put the grist
Arbor.
back.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Well, we just go ahead and just lay it on the line with JPA. We're like, listen, sir, our hand didn't really pan out this game one. Do you want to punish? And JPA said, nah, it's fine. It's okay. It's okay that your land was a Dryad Arbor. No bull. So I was like, thank you, JPA. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to try to punish your DRC. And Jonathan just wasn't feeling it. Nah, we're going to
I mean,
force
you got the
that.
snuff out backup, so that's still good.
Yeah, so I let the Forest of Will resolve. They put one card on top of their library, which is like minor scary. And I decide, you know what? This Darcy can go away. I don't need them looking at more cards at this point. They got 3 cards
I
left in
think
hand.
that the fact that it lined up well for you because they didn't have the answer for your turn one arbor. I think that really shifted the game, right? Because they had to force the bowmasters, and now you're pretty ahead actually.
Yeah. The opposing Bowmasters happens, but hey, that's okay. We got a couple creature cards in the graveyard. Fiend Artisan is looking just fine. Oh wait,
Ooh,
we drew a Bowmasters. The game is afoot. So I did decide to play Bowmasters considering that Days was open because I think I'd rather have Fiend Artisan than Bowmasters in most
I would have made
cases.
the same play. So I don't. I think the only thing I would have done differently is I probably would have fetched up the second Bayou.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that probably would have been good. But we're on one land anyway, so
Yeah,
and
I'm
we
not gonna play
find
around double wasteland. And the reason being is because this could happen, right? Like maybe you draw like a cradle down the road and you can't cast a grist.
yeah, so that force of will hurt a little bit, and at this point I'm thinking, okay, you're at it. You gotta be out of stuff. But your Bowmasters does not scare me. This is
That land
Grist.
top deck was clutch.
Yeah. Luckily, we were able to draw out and trade with that. Grist gets bolted, unfortunately, but they play land representing they have no more
Ooh.
cards in hand. So now it's time to grab another Fiend Artisan because we want to keep, putting the pressure on.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't actually get a grist there, but Fiend is pretty good here too.
I think Fiend Artisan is just right because like I'm able to fetch up an Arbor here, and then all of a sudden, like I have a Grist uh, if I want it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really would have loved to still have a Bowmasters at this point, but unfortunately, both are in the graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I end up just getting another Fiend Artisan. Why not?
Oh, I think that's a little bit dangerous what you just did because if Delver flipped, you could have gone on a 4.
Yeah, probably wasn't great. Anyway, we use the Chromox here so we can get Grist, or not Grist actually. We end up getting Endurance here to clean up the yard and then also play block
Mm-hmm.
and attack for 8.
Mm-hmm.
Just serve 8 damage. There it is. What are you going to do? And I won.
Nice. I think there's a little bit left to be something left to be desired here, but I'll take the W because I do think there's a world where you get punished for the for not handling the Delver with like a well you could have end step got the endurance or Bowmasters to lock out their cantress. So I do think that was a little bit risky. Where there's another world we get
Well,
punished.
we couldn't have gotten Bowmasters because both of them were in the graveyard.
Gotcha. But you could have still gone. I think the thing I would have really done differently was there was a turn you could have got Grist, and I think would have started taking up Grist for what's worth.
Okay. Well, I'm a little crazy, and
It's all right. When
heat
the
check.
RNG gods were against you before, so they made up for it today.
Heat check. All right, game 2. Let's see what we kept.
That's really good, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Very, very strong.
Obviously, I think one of the 4s, if it was a fetch, would have been better, but I think it's really strong regardless.
Yeah, we got our first guy bolted. Oh, I actually love this next bit of things that happens
Oh,
because
can you
it's
pause for a second?
ridiculous. Yeah,
Small nitpick. Guess what it is?
Green Sun first, so it doesn't get dazed. So it shuffles back in, and then the Ignoble Hierarch gets dazed. Is that
Exactly.
it?
So if grows Fiend Artisan.
Yeah. 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 All
It's okay.
right.
You caught it the second time. I'm gonna okay, for what it's worth, Curran I think played for the most part pretty clean on the day. Like fatigue is a real thing, so I know I'm like messing around like ribbing Curran a little bit,
It's fun.
for what it's worth, he caught it in real time here, which is more important I think than you don't miss. Like everybody makes mistakes, but the more important thing is like if you can catch it later on, then you're good.
I didn't actually catch it as late as you thought. I literally like finished resolving the Zenith, and I was like, I did that in the wrong order.
Okay, there you go, even better.
So anyway, but it worked out because we have plot armor today, and our opponent has not 1, not 2, but 3 lightning bolts.
I'm kind of. Oh, I guess I'd be curious why they did that main phase. Maybe this just drew it.
Maybe I think that they probably just drew it. Yeah.
Makes sense.
So here's Delver now being like, "Woohoo! We cleared the table," but it's all right. We drew the land. We're all good. We're gonna go ahead and send it back their way. Kind of check what's gonna happen here. Delver doesn't flip. Polluted Delta gets cracked.
I would endurance here, upkeep.
I think what ends up happening is this instead. So the Wasteland targets. So I decide to cast the Endurance.
Mm-hmm.
It resolves. I put their yard back.
Mm-hmm.
And then while the Bayou is still available, I end up snuffing anyway.
I think that's reasonable.
I think, the reason was like I kind of just want to get the beat train going while they're on 2 cards at this point and kind of take the driver's seat if I can.
I think that's perfectly reasonable. I think the only thing I would have done differently was I would have endurance upkeep, only because I don't want them to draw into like force or something, right? And or Murktide, I think you get super punished. Well, I
Hmm.
guess Murktide is okay because you have to snuff out. Maybe that's the logic.
Yeah. So we apply the beat train and
Hmm.
send it back. They play a land and pass. We draw an ignoble hierarch. A petty theft, the endurance and response, not really a huge concern of mine.
No, I don't think so either. I think at this
Uh,
point you're feeling pretty good with that hand.
yeah, and things just keep getting a little better as time
Hmm.
goes on. So they play the borrower. They play Cage, which kind of made me feel bad about not playing Zenith. But I played Endurance because I knew about it and it was days proof, so that's why I did that. But it feels
I
bad that the
I
Zenith is
I
now
think
kind of
there's a
trapped.
world where you want to main phase endurance into Green Sun for a reclaimer, but I don't fault you for holding it. It's like not a big deal,
Yeah.
I don't think.
At this point, I'm not ready to expose the windswept heath yet. And then I decide to hardcast a snuff out on this brazen borrower, take it out of the game,
Hmm.
and step fetch, grab Bayou, and cast the Fairy Macabre
I
for
was gonna say, are
beat.
you gonna make the fun play? And you did. I
Yeah.
like it.
I'm just like, at this point, I'm just trying to get them dead before they get
No,
back up, you know?
I'm 100% on board with that play.
Yeah.
I'm a,
Jonathan reveals force of will, but fetches before drawing of note.
right because he's behind on board.
Yeah, he knows he needs to kind of get back in it. And in response to that, I float the three, cast the endurance, and he scoops.
Yeah, that's the respect. He knows that he's done. He's dead in the water here.
Yeah. So yeah, really clean against Grixis Delver. The tempo feel matchup feels as good as ever. You know, like uh, just having solid mana and being able to cast your spells will get you there
I think the big
generally.
take. Oh, go ahead. I'll let you finish. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I that was the end of my thought there. Go ahead.
I think what I really liked about this game was two different things that get illustrated. I think um, number one, I think you just see how good endurance is just in general in this matchup, right? It's just like backbreaking for them. Like I joked that our deck is still a combo deck against Delver, right? Our A plus B is just endurance, and the second combo is it also endurance. You just stacking endurances against them. And also, I think what Curran did really well here was he recognized the board state and put Jonathan under pressure with the hardcast fairy. And I mean, for what it's worth, I think fairy looked pretty good between that oops matchup and this game here, right?
Yeah, Fairy is definitely one of the favorites in the board right now for sure. I honestly wish there was room to play a second one, but I couldn't tell you where in the world I would cut. I mean, like maybe the Veil, but
Right.
like the Veil also provides like very high value blowouts against things like Storm or Shadow or whatever have you.
No, no, for sure. I've been liking the 1-1 split. Also, you don't really want two fairies in hand, so that's another reason. But I do think you deviated well here. I think I don't really have any issues really with the way this game unfolded. I think we started with two fetch. Sorry, two forests, right? This was the game.
Yeah, two forests and a cradle.
Yeah, so I really don't have any issues with how you play the game. I think the only thing I might have done different, like I said, was maybe I spent the green sun for reclaimer, but you weren't under any pressure, so I think your line was perfectly fine there too to hold it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's kind of the wrap. The only matchups we didn't cover were the first time I played against D&T and the other another round against Shadow and a round against Ant. I'm not sure if you want to go over any of those. I'm happy to, but I'm not.
Do you think
I'm on your schedule here,
do
boss.
you,
So
do you think either of them were unique in any way, or anything you want to showcase in particular about any of the Ant or the Shadow matchup? Or I guess what I can ask is also, do you feel better against Shadow, or do you feel better against Grixis Delver?
um, I guess I still feel better against Grixis Delver because Shadow has more facets to just get free wins.
Right. Okay.
Like that's like my only concern there, but
Mm-hmm.
and also the very aggressive starts where they can get multiple shadows down super early are just the scariest things in the world. Though I think that's a lot less consistent these days because they don't play things like Street Wraith or Snuff Out anymore.
Right. They
They've
don't have the
moved
free
to
ones.
Dismember, which is like their big life loss outlet still, but like Dismember is
I mean,
tough anyway, so.
there's a big difference between 0 and 1 mana.
Yeah, exactly. There really is. So, but I actually do want to showcase this game three against Ant. I think
Okay.
it's interesting.
Okay. Let's walk through
Uh,
it.
so, this is the hand we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Are you keeping or mulling? And
We're on the play. This one is interesting. I think we definitely keep because we have fairy protection plus turn 2 collective, right?
that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Or even turn two Gaddock Teague, right? That's
Or
another
turn
one.
2 Godok, depending what you want, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I think in this case we ended up hitting our land off once upon a time. Got the noble. Volcanic Island into Ponder, sure, no big.
I think what I would do here is, yeah, you go Bowmasters into Green Sun for oof, right?
Yeah, that's what I end up doing here. Because while I did want to get Gaddock Teague, as I feel it's more of a hard lock, I do want to still cast this natural order if possible.
Right,
So
exactly.
I want to give myself that opportunity. Um, Opponent plays a land here, passes back. So we're going in for the murder now, but they have a response.
Stress down?
Yeah, stress down. So uh, I feel like the play is probably obvious, but I'll ask you anyway. With the dress down in play, what's the new grab?
I would get Godok. Yeah.
I agree. So I ask you now, chat. I ask you now. When this dress down goes away and it's my opponent's turn, how are they going to beat something that hates cantrips, that hates artifact activations, and also no tendrils or ad nauseum, please?
I love
This
it.
is the dream board state versus
I think the
Storm.
only out, and I don't even think they play this at the moment. Like it's like Pyroclasm or something like that.
Yeah, or they like have to main phase a dress down and then start going after that. Basically, that's like
I mean,
those
they.
are their
I
outs.
mean, Dress Now is really good, but we know that they have one already, so like that's really stressed now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Him for six, take him to eight. They brainstorm in end of turn. Bowmasters pops off. They brainstorm again and give me the
Yeah.
scoop.
And not only that, you're covered against Graveyard too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Macabre's there.
Man, Macabre
They're
has looked really good in the challenge. I think like I like it here too because like the installation against getting turn 1 is pretty nice.
So I think something else that I really want to point out and really want to stress about Ant is that soon MTGO is going to see Paradise Lost introduced into the collection. I think that happens like on the 8th or the 9th of September. If I'm correct, I'm not 100% sure. I'll
Mm-hmm.
need to check the release dates again, but Paradise Lost is going to be a very good engine for Ant to have access to. It's something that my friend Sage plays in paper a lot, and it's something that I'm used to. So the stock in endurance and fairy macabre post board are a lot higher
Mm-hmm.
when Paradise Lost is legal, because it's a line that's more deterministic than ad nauseum. And it you really only need to roll a 3 or higher on your Paradise roll to win. Even 2 will suffice in some cases. So it is just it's a new deterministic engine for Ant, and so do keep that in mind when that does come legal on Moto.
I'm glad you touched on that point because I wasn't gonna mention it, but this is a good time. Beseech the Mirror is also a card that may see play in Ant, and I think the stock in Galactique is gonna go up as well because I think that card, while also good in Storm, is probably at its best in the mono black Hellline deck, and because it gets every piece and you can pitch extra what's it call it Leyline, or if they play Whispers, we'll see which one. But I do think yeah Teague stock's gonna go up. I think this is probably the lowest I've seen maybe endurance maybe ever. It's only good against the tempo matchups like, but I think endurance stock's gonna go back up on the rise as well.
Yeah, so that's something to look out for
Mm-hmm.
whenever they actually decide to put that card in a legal place. So again, I am down to answer any questions chat might have about the list, any of my gameplay, any anything. The floor is open. I'll take just for a few moments here. I think is a good opportunity
I think
to
I'll start you right
pause.
off with my question, I guess.
Yeah.
I think for those who don't know, this is the 75 I posted on Patreon, and I am honored that Curran played my exact 75. So trusting in me, but now with the challenge behind you, is there anything you would change, or do you feel good about the 75 at least for the near term?
Near term speaking, I don't want to change anything unless there's a major shift in the meta, or like, players in the meta game or anything like that. Um, I have yet to experience holes. I will say that I am a little bit concerned that I didn't see any depths matchups in my run,
Mm-hmm.
and those matchups are what concerns me the most. As Bowmasters enters and makes a metagame hostile to cantrips, people are sometimes just trying to rely on that 2020 to get there, and so I'd like to test more against things like Abzan depths, probably some lands, even though that matchup is just miserable to play. Like, I know that it's gotten a lot better. It's so much better than the old days, but like it is still a grind fest. It is still a test of your like understanding of like, you know, uh
It's
getting Reclaimer powered up and hoping that he basically goes the distance.
Yeah, it's definitely very skill testing. Unfortunately, only on our side, I feel like on their side, they really don't. Well, I wouldn't say for everyone, but I feel like a lot of their pilots don't really understand how a lot of these creature decks work. But then, just Tabernacle is just so impactful, I guess, in some of these creature matchups that it doesn't really matter a lot of times what they do, but it's a big hindrance. My personal record since adding Chromox has been 5-0 against lands, and one of those wins was against also Ali Limber. So I do think the matchup is probably a lot better now with the Chromox edition, but again, small sample size, and we'll see how it goes from there.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit more concerned about abs and ups as a whole, because they get to play bowmasters and swords to plowshares, uh, and like have a very quick merit lodge if if the crop rotations and the mox diamonds line up right and everything. Um, So again, I think that's the matchup that concerns me the most, just looking at everything. But the needles again give me some peace of mind, as well as like still continuing to bring in stuff out to get things like Night of the Reliquary and Elvish Reclaimer
Yeah,
uh,
my personal experience
cleared.
is the needles in particular have been really good against both lands and depths because a line that comes up a lot is you natural order for Atraxa and you're like either having hit your land drop there or you're floating one, right? And then you can either hit a cradle or other land drop, play your pithing needle, and lock out whatever they're gonna do. Or you have the floating one mana and you can play the needle, which conveniently, I don't know how often it's come up for you so far. I think we saw it earlier. You attracted for six, but like attracted for six has been because of Chromox has been coming up a lot for me personally. Now,
I see a question in chat that I'd love to answer. DSIT says for Sadra. So exactly how much sleep did you get before this, Chally? I got a solid 6.5, maybe 7 hours. So definitely good sleep prevailed this time, and not degenerate sleep. As uh, I was a little bit inebriated throughout the morning, as it was a day off and I was enjoying myself, but I won't get too much into that. Uh, I did get a little bit more deteriorated as time went on, and I think that showed in some of my gameplay.
yes.
But that's okay because the hero arc was on, the heat check was real, and we had the good armor that day. So
No, I think Curran, you did a fantastic job with going over the replay, and thank you for having a good sense of humor as well. At the end of the day, I'm just ripping you a little bit. Obviously, Curran has
yeah,
got
I mean they're minor mistakes, right? It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
too bad.
No, 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 not at all, not at all. I think obviously a lot of this is like tunnel vision too. Sometimes you like realize it as you're clicking through, if that makes sense. The mistake.
Yeah, it definitely. It's weird. Yeah, it's always funny when it happens, but it's also nice because it reminds me that I'm still. There's always room to grow and improve. So
I definitely think my favorite thing from the stream was the posts attracts a Thoughtseize, right? Just to show that against the Cascade player, like, oh yeah, I could have done this, but I just didn't think you had
I just actually nah.
it.
I just went for it. Force of Negation isn't a magic card. You don't have that card.
Oh, that was so great. Um,
No respect.
it really was no respect. That was the play I was looking for with the tracks trigger on the stack. Like, oh, don't take the Thoughtseize. Just show them that you had it. You just didn't care.
Yeah, I wish it had happened, but it would have been. Oh man, yeah. But next time, I'll make sure to Thoughtseize first, clear the way. It'll be good.
That does remind me of one thing though. I asked this on the Patreon channel, but is there anything you would like me to test, or us to test, actually, quite frankly, going forward? I know one concern was maybe, I think after I saw today the DNT matchup, I'm not super concerned yet, but I don't think we need to make anything drastic, but something to keep in mind. I thought that game three could have gone either way.
Yeah, I think it certainly could have. I think the Force of Vigor was just one draw step too late. Like if I had drawn it instead of the second snuff out,
Mm-hmm.
I think the game would have been vastly different.
Mm-hmm.
I would have, end stepped and then gotten the attracts off, and then we're just in new territory. I don't know if it would have resulted in a win, but it would have resulted in better progression than like where we were at that
Yeah,
moment.
we don't have a clean answer to opposition agent, but at the same
Yeah,
time, I'm not
that's really
sure
what killed me game one too. It's just so tough.
it is. The only thing I can think of is like off the top of my head, if we really care about that card because DNT is playing black now, it's either the third Gris or something like annoying, right? Like, but I don't really want to play annoying because it's a 2 mana removal spell. So, any thoughts on that before we leave for today,
Uh,
or just try to run
I,
hot, right, and or hope the 2 Gris can handle the opposition agent?
I honestly want to say that I don't know how much I'm ready to respect Black White D&T as a meta player yet.
That's fair.
And I'm not sure because I'm pretty sure XJ Cloud's first list didn't include opposition agent main. I'm pretty sure it didn't.
No, he
I
had it in
could
the
be
side,
wrong.
I believe.
Yeah. So that was there's the variance of first, am I going to play against D&T? Next, am I going to play against Black White D&T? And then third, is opposition agent going to be in the main or the side? And at this moment, because they're like that's like 3 layers deep and a toss up at each like junction,
Mm-hmm.
I think we can keep the board, or I think we can keep the 75 the same. And if it becomes more of a pressing issue over time, like if there is actually a significant amount of black white DNT
Mm-hmm.
that's just entering the format now,
Mm-hmm.
then we can maybe better prepare for it. But again, the hierarchs are also there to like swing past it. Hopefully, at some point. I just didn't have the best hand against it. I don't think, and that's okay. That happens. So.
Right. No, I mean, I think. Yeah, I think the game three, especially, I think it could have gone either way. So I'm not. What's the word? I'm not panicking is probably the right word. Yeah, about that
Yeah.
matchup, but we'll see from there. And then I do think the painter matchup. Maybe we have to think about how we want to address the sideboarding. But again, I don't. I think if we really want to hose painter, the guy's blessing goes a long way, right?
Yeah, I think it does go a long way, and I think that's always a card that's worth consideration. But at the same time, I feel more blown out by Painter when they do things like Fury Me,
Right.
or like somehow get through with the Chaos Defiler. The combo is not really what I'm worried about in the post sport
Mm-hmm.
at all, and so. Uh, I think it's volatile and it's tough, but I my record against Painter is pretty comfortable for me. Like I
Mm-hmm.
have a comfortable win rate against Painter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that I'm not really deeply concerned about the matchup as other players might be. I think the Force of Vigor, the Endurances, the Pithing Needle, they all do a fantastic job
Mm-hmm.
of answering things I care about. Um, so I don't know. For me, it's not as big of a thing, but I understand if other players are struggling.
No, that's
So,
completely fair. And actually, shout out to System Magic for the raid right now. Unfortunately, awkwardly, we're just wrapping up our stream as well. Does anybody from System Magic stream have any questions for Curran, who had his hot streak making the top 4 of this past yesterday's challenge?
yeah, any questions? Also, I do want to give a shout out to my boy Decent for doing well at his trios event with the deck. Also, the same 75, I think, right?
Yes.
His team ended up drawing the finals. And Decent had a pretty good day in his record. It showed. So
Yeah, shout out to Decent for repping the deck the day before as well. And actually, thank you for the follow, Freya. I think if there are no other questions for Curran or myself, here are the socials again. Actually, I just posted that. And then, Curran, if you could post your Twitter handle.
yep, I am
Um,
on that now.
and
Oh,
then I will go ahead and
oh,
raid PT Bench.
all right, sounds good.
All right. Thank you everyone for hanging out. Thank you to System Magic for the raid. And I think we'll call it a day or night. All right. Good night. Thank you for hanging out.
Good night.